Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. I don't even know quite where to begin with this one except to just, spit it out. Um, I've been kind of seeing some stuff brewing in the back of my head as I watch the news unfold. I might not go live every second of every day, but I'm constantly watching, constantly paying attention as to what's going on. And there's just quite a few things that I'd like to talk about right now and run past y'all. And it's okay if people disagree with me. Um, you know, I got to do what I feel that the Lord is leading me to do. Now, I'm not saying "Thus saith the Lord" and what I'm about to say, but what I am saying is I do feel very heavy in my spirit that I need to warn everybody what I see coming, and it's definitely something big is getting ready to pop off. And the proof is in the pudding. We're 22 days into January, into 2026, and it's absolutely incredible the acceleration that's happening. And I don't know if you agree with me on that, but I mean, I've been watching for a long time. For 25 years, I've been watching and paying attention and being vigilant in discerning the times that we're in. And it's just astronomical to me how much is happening. It's so big and grand and giant in scope, in the different at the different fractions and whatever you want to say of the pie that make up the chaos that's happening right now. It definitely is indicative of what is to come this year. I think it's pretty much safe to assume that this year 2026 is going to be a bumpy road. um First off, the WEF, the WEF, the World Economic Forum, whatever you want to call it, just met in Davos. And there's some definite things that stuck out to me, um about the meeting in Davos. And one of the main actually the main thing that I took away from it is that and I don't I'm not part of the right or the left. I'm just me. I'm part of Jesus. I believe in Jesus, and I believe in focusing on him and letting him speak to me about what's going on. And I heard a lot of different things from the different videos that came out from the World Economic Forum and this year's meeting at Davos. And one of the big ones that I took away from it, and it reminded me of something that was said way back in the day by James Warburg, I think is his name, and he was an old elitist, one of them rich fat cat banking families, probably part of the one of the Illuminati bloodlines. I'm not sure if the Warburgs are or not, but definitely related in some way or another to those groups of elitists. And he said that whether by conquest or consent, they will have the New World Order. And even George Bush came out and said, when we're successful, and we will be, and that's Papa Bush. You know what I mean? Like, George H.W. Bush, he says, we have before ourselves, a chance to form a new world order. And then he went on to say that when we're successful, and we will be. And one of the things that I heard reiterated at Davos that kind of was like, man. And it's a good thing, but it's also like, okay, all right, buckle up, Buttercup. Like, this is going to be a bumpy ride. Is that America just flat out rejected globalism, and they're probably all a part of it. It's probably all staged. Like, they want to have a chaotic transition into the New World Order. but like I've noticed like Europe, especially like Scotland and the UK and other places in Europe, like in America especially, we're getting with the program and we're seeing the tyranny that's starting to flood into America. You know, there's a lot of bucking the system that's going on, and you know, and I hey, you know that one of my sayings is to stick it to the man while we can, you know, and I'm all about it, you know, like screw globalism, you know, and it's just the Illuminati trying to take over the world for the Antichrist is all it is. It's a giant crackpot, and you know, but with that being said, you know, and the elitists, you know, that are all at Davos, you know, hearing what you know the representatives of America are saying to the rest of the globalists of the world, you know, we basically are telling them, you know, go blankety blank yourselves. And you know, with that being said, so publicly and kind of a strong rejection of their global new world order, in what the agenda is there, and whether it is an actual rejection of it or not, you know, I can't speculate, you know. I can't tell you, you know, what the elite are planning behind the scenes in America. Anybody who wears a suit, I don't trust them when it comes to politics and things like that. You know, anybody that's wearing a suit, you just can't trust them as far as you can throw them. They're all a part of their little pedophile, sex, satanic cults that they have, and they all do nasty behind closed doors, and they're all friends behind closed doors. They all hang out, and a lot of like the I've noticed a lot of the social influencers online on the internet that act like they're enemies behind closed doors. They party together, like Candace Owens and like all of them, and like Turning Point USA and all that stuff. A lot of those people were in the same room at like one of Tucker Carlson's parties, and like they were all invited and they're all hanging out laughing together, and a lot of it's laughing at our expense. You know, it's a giant con job. It's a matrix. You know, the matrix really explains it well what society actually is right now. But with everything that is going on with the rejection of globalism and things like that, and the American people have spoken. I mean, we're sick of the game that they're playing. We're tired of it, and we've had enough. It's absolutely disgusting, you know, what they're doing and how they're trying to take over the show, and you know, but Americans have had enough. You know, we reject the replacement migration that's happening, and it's a heavy duty replacement migration. Like I've noticed that you know they're really moving hard on gaining control over certain areas in America with radical Islam. And you know, they did it with New York. They got everything into place in New York the way that they need it, and now they're going after Florida and Texas. You know, there's like this, you know, mecca, if you will, that the Muslims are building down in Texas, and now there's this new what they call an epic city, and they're voting. I think it's tonight they're voting on, or it was yesterday. It was either yesterday or tonight. They're voting on the zoning ordinances and all that stuff in this area in Florida where radical Muslims are trying to build an epic city in Florida. They're pushing Americans out of the red states, and there ain't going to be nowhere to go if a stand isn't made. You know, and these people don't plan to integrate into our society peacefully, and they all spout out from the mouth and they tell you exactly what they're going to do, and they tell you that they're here to take over. You know, America, you have a war at your doorstep and you don't even know it. There's like the people on this channel, we realize it. We see what's happening. And I've been warning, you can go back to a year and a half ago where I was warning people, you know, or a year ago that like you know, America's October 7th is coming. And now the word on the street is that Al Qaeda has activated their sleeper cells, and I've been showing you clips where you know there's expert after expert coming out saying like, hey, you know, they're planning these attacks, and they have secondary attacks that they're going to do where they're going to attack hospitals and the first responders and all this different stuff, and make it very difficult for anybody who's been attacked to get to a place where they can get medical care. And I mean, these people have shown they're not past shooting up a hospital. I mean, they shot up that whole hospital full of pregnant women. I think it was in Syria or the Sudan. It was either Sudan or Syria, And they shot up a whole hospital of pregnant women and children, killed them all, put a bullet in everybody's head. And these people are ruthless, bloodthirsty, and ruthless. There is a thing, getting past the idea of what like lust is, but there's a thing that's called bloodlust, and it's so demonic, so demonic. And like people who enjoy real gory movies and seeing people dismembered and all this different stuff, that's called bloodlust. And there's people in this world that will commit acts that fulfill their bloodlust. And I don't know if anybody watching this knows what a red room is, but like there's these places in the dark web where they kidnap people. And I do not, I mean, absolutely, I'm telling you, do not go watch this movie. It was a movie I regret watching when I was younger, but it's like this movie called Hostel, Hostle, and it's a whole movie about people being tortured for fun. There's people that literally get off on torturing people, and that's what a red room is. And that's bloodlust. That's lust for violence. And it says in the Bible that in the coming in the as things move forward, and as in the days of Noah shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So what as it's moving forward with the end times and the coming of Christ, for his bride, violence is going to pick up pace, and it is. It's picking up pace all around us, and it's just absolutely a whirlwind what's taken place. And I want to make sure people know I'm not paying attention to live chat or anything right now. I'm just kind of I'm going off of what is on my heart to speak today, and then I'll hop into the live chat and kind of see what's going on. But radical Islam is a death cult. It is an absolute death cult, and they are moving in. And I'll be honest with you, it's like, it concerns me because on one side of the coin we have ICE that's removing Somalians and people who are Hispanics, but I don't see them going after the Muslims for some reason so much. I see them going after Asian people and people from over in Somalia, like I said, and in Mexico, and the Venezuela and things like that, and ousting them out of the country. But do you see a lot of Muslims getting arrested, that are here illegally? Because there's a whole lot of them. There's a whole lot of them that came in illegally, and a lot of them made themselves look like they were Hispanic, just so that way they could come across the border and look Hispanic when they really weren't. A lot of them coming from like Syria and stuff, and ISIS is from Syria, and there's kind of a resurgence that's happening in Syria with ISIS. They're calling it ISIS 2.0. And there was a letter not long ago that was sent out by the Ayatollah Crapola, whatever his name is, that is there in Iran, where they were basically telling everybody that if people don't get busy slaughtering, people in Europe and people in America, and the radical Muslims don't get busy doing that they're committing harem, which is their like form of blasphemy or whatever. It's absolutely shocking, to say the least, and how it seems that radical Islam is being enabled more than anything. And it was funny that, supposedly our country doesn't negotiate with terrorists, but we had a leader of ISIS and the new president of Syria, if you want to call him that, right at the White House. I mean, I've got pictures of this guy holding 2 decapitated heads in his hands, and he was allowed in the White House. And deals were being struck behind the scenes. Oh, we're going to integrate peacefully, blah, blah, blah. But when you listen to their rhetoric and you listen to what their imams are saying and all this stuff, and what their higher ups are saying, they're saying, we're here to take over. We're here to take over. I mean, I could show you video after video after video, but I feel like it kind of negates the purpose of just kind of talking to you today. I could show you tons of videos that I've downloaded, and I can show them to you tomorrow or whatever. But I just kind of feel like I need to say this, that we've rejected globalism. And because we've rejected globalism, I believe there's a big event coming. I've been feeling it. Everybody's feels it in their bones. I mean, you can't deny it. Everybody knows what's happening, what's going on. It's actually, kind of it's actually kind of a dangerous situation that's brewing, because like when you start telling the globalists that you're not going to go along with their plan, they're going to do something to stir the pot and get things moving along, because well, like James Warburg said, like I told you earlier, whether by conquest or consent, they'll have their new world order. I think that's his name. Yeah, James Warburg. And so we're not going to consent to it. We know that. Okay. Americans, the majority of Americans are conservative, right? Christian, believe in the morals of the Bible at least. Whether they believe in the Bible or not, I don't know. But, like there is something that separates humanity from animals. We're not animals. Evolution's a farce. It's a complete, I can't even begin to tell you how much it bothers me that they say like, because I mean, there's stuff like macro evolution where like germs adapt and like things can adapt to an environment, but there's no hard evidence of actual evolution. Macro evolution, and you could, if you want to call it that, is you could call it adaptation. You know what I mean? But it has nothing to do with evolution, like where a duck becomes a snake or a snake becomes a duck, or there's nothing that shows us this, and it's just this huge falsehood. And but it's the biggest grown-up fairy tale I've ever seen. But I don't care what you believe. There's a morality that separates us from animals. We don't eat our young unless you're demonically possessed or you're satanic, or you got you're sick in the head, or something like that. You don't breed with your own kind. I mean, that's incest. That's evil. We're not supposed to be doing that. And we don't murder our kids, or we don't go around killing each other and eating each other and stuff like that. I mean, those things do happen when people are demonically possessed, but it has nothing to do with, in reality, like there's a difference, like what I'm trying to say, between humans and animals. And so, most people do believe in like a morality. At least they at least can, from the genetics that God gave them from the very beginning of their creation, that's ingrained into their DNA, that this is bad and this is bad, don't do this, that's bad, don't steal, don't lie, don't do this. Now some people still do it. I'm not saying that don't happen, but we know it's wrong as humans. We totally get that. So but America, I think, for the most part, and I'm talking about the people of America, I'm not talking about the leaders, I'm not talking about the higher ups, I'm not talking about anybody that's wearing a suit in Washington or any capital of any state in this country. I'm talking about the American citizens. I'm talking about the citizens of the UK. I'm talking about the citizens in the world that are standing against globalism. We're done. We've had enough. All right, we're over it. And I think that message was relayed at Davos. And you have all these people, that have come out, and infiltrated Davos. I mean, James O'Keefe infiltrated Davos. I was actually really impressed by that. Like, kudos to James O'Keefe for infiltrating. And he got some really crazy intel, where they admitted that the particulates that they spray in the sky they linger for a long time. It's not just like once they spray it, like that stuff kind of catches, they get it up into the jet stream and it lingers and it shifts around. It's not something that just falls to the ground immediately. And it's for them, it's relatively cheap to do. We're being hammered. We're being hammered with all sorts of stuff. It's absolutely intense. What's happening. And so, anyways, my point is that with telling the globalists to go screw themselves, which we've kind of done, we all have to admit that, which is good. You know what I mean? But I find it interesting that they tell us in their own writings and how they are warning us of what they're going to do to us, that they plan to cause chaos if we go against the way that they want things done. And obviously, we're done wearing masks, we're done taking jabby, we're over it. We're over the lies, we're over the mumbo jumbo. And it's interesting. I feel like, that being said, it opens America up for attack. And again, like I was saying, we've got 3 different states now that are being overran. I mean, that it's clear as day they're being overran by radical Islam. Like I said, New York, Mamdani or whatever got in there, and he immediately started changing things, and he immediately started propagandizing the children, and he immediately started going after them. And then they got that city that they're working on, and all these mosques they're building in Texas, and all the mosques that they're starting to build in Florida now. And so, like I said, they're starting to push out the right and build up their stuff. And I mean, like, there's a few things I could probably show you. Give me a moment here. Give me a moment here. I gotta make sure I didn't name these. So actually, here's one that's kind of interesting. Here's a testimony from an ex-Muslim. All right. I think we all should hear this. It's a little lengthy, but it's pretty important. Listen to this.
Thank you very much, Honorable Scott Bradley, Mayor. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kindness to allowing us to talk today. I just want to explain to you, I cannot show my face here today because my life is in danger. If I show who I am, I may get killed for what I'm going to tell you right now. The reason is, decades ago, I was put into Islamic Learning Center when I was a kid to learn Islam. I was beat up. Every Thursday was a beat up. If I could not say that hey after Bismillah correctly, I was beat up. They were putting my foot up and they're hitting it up with a stick so many times that I finally be able to say that hey correctly. Now, you guys need to know what's coming next to you guys, and I'm going to just read it off of the Quran. Right to the point of this learning center, what they're going to teach our kids. قُتِلُوا الَّذِينَ لَمْ يُؤْمِنُونَ. That means قُتِلُوا. You see this word multiple times in Quran. قُتِلُوا, killed. قُتِلُوا الَّذِينَ, people. الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Mu'min is one of us. La mu'min is not one of us. So they kill them. But la va'la. If you don't do it, وَالْآخَرَ يَا رَمُونَ وَمَحْرَمَ اللَّهُ رَسُولُهُ. You're not one of us if you don't do it. So they're telling you right here, battalion that she was saying, what battalion they're going to make. That the kids and your grandkids are in danger if you bring these guys here to learn this kind of knowledge. And you cannot just cherry pick in Quran. So I don't want to learn this An-Nisa area, this surah. No. It's either you are Muslim, you read this and memorize it and do it, or you're not a Muslim. La rahramuna. Okay? From the dress code they have, it's quite obvious. They are not assimilating to America. They are still living in 7th century, and they will go by these words. If they say no, they are doing what's called taqi, lying to you, to pass their religion. Now, if you're not done yet, it's getting just more and more interesting.
I want to pause this for a moment and say that I've shown video clips where they literally say they agree with leftists because they don't have any moral values. But as soon as they get power, they'll kill the leftists off. It's in Murphy, Texas, Ben Sherman. They'll kill the leftists off. They'll cut their heads off, drop them off, skyscrapers, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, these people, it's only a means. So, like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend up until they can wage war themselves. Muslims only believe in peace up until they have enough power to overthrow their enemies. And that's very important for people to understand. They're allowed to lie. They're taught to lie. This isn't something that's a game. We're being overran. And it's really important for people to understand these concepts.
The people like me who turn away from them, what they're going to do them? I'll just say it again. وَقُتِلُوا هُمْ حَيْسَ وَجَتَمُوهَمَ وَلَوْ تَتَّخُذَ. That means the ones who turn away from us, if they turn away, seize them and kill them wherever you find them. That means the city hall right now. If one of them is here, over there they could knife me. That's why I'm covering my face. So, apostate, I mean, you can say, I don't like Jesus, I don't like Buddha, and nobody bothers you. If you say, I don't like Muhammad, he was doing psychopathic, crazy guy, your death sentence is right here.
Or if you call Muhammad a pedophile because he diddled little kids and he married little kids because he's a pedophile.
Okay, and they're going to come teach this to the kids, brainwash them. And these kids finally get weapons on their, it's called a Second Amendment. You can do weapons on your hand too, thank you very much. Okay, you're set. And then goes on about the kafirs, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, talks about how the kafirs have to do, you guys are kafir, I'm the murtad. Just to let you, they have category that the kafirs are here, murtad is murtad, immediately has to be killed. Kafir, they talk to you, will nasihat. If you learn to change and come and do like this, Islamic behavior, you have a chance as long as you pay jizya, which is like a mafia. You pay your part to stay alive for protection money, called jizya. So it goes on and on and on. Then the right of the woman, you all know about that one. Woman have half of a right of a man. A man can marry 4 wives. Women by nature are half brain, naqas al-khalq they call them. They are born without a good brain to begin with. Therefore, you could hit them.
And I've seen there's videos like that all over social media where you see in like especially Iran and places like, I mean, it's all over the Middle East, but they come out of Iran and like a husband will be beating his wife in Iran, and people who are passing by are allowed to pick up a rock and stone them or hit them with a stick or whatever, or join in with the husband beating the woman. Women are completely treated like dogs in the Islamic faith. They are way lesser than. You can literally hear this man who is an ex-Muslim telling you that they see women as stupid. They see women as, that they don't have a brain. It's absolutely disgusting. I was raised by women. I was raised by very intelligent women. And my wife is also very intelligent. And I couldn't be so much. She has almost a 4.0 grade point average all the way through high school and college. You know what I mean? Like, women are smart, and Islam doesn't think so. Islam doesn't think so. We'll continue on here.
Part here if you guys are interested to read it. Another thing about translation, they have gone and paid money to AI to change the translations on AI. So if you don't know Arabic, you cannot read it. They totally is different. Like here, it says, قَتَلُوا الَّذِينَ يَعْمَمُونَ, that is, kill the guys who are not mu'min. AI, it goes and says, fight. قَتَلُوا does not mean fight. قَتَلُوا means kill. Fight means haraba. So they're very smart. The money that goes around to change translations online, the money that checks are written for city councils and mayors and lawmakers, we don't know really where it's coming from overseas. I think CIA is with it too, honestly. Not that they don't know these things. So my suggestion is, don't be afraid for First Amendment. They keep coming, first against the First Amendment and religion. No, wait a second. If California can infringe on Second Amendment like that and stop practically we have carry zone free, totally, in California. In United States, local governments can also say, wait a second. This is too violent for my blood. I don't want my kids to be raised with this. Get out of here. Another thing is dress codes. You guys need to put some foot down for dress codes. They wear like that. I see niqab and hijab and things like that. That's unacceptable, really. Coming to Walmart, here, there, the schools. You need to put your foot down. Say, sorry, like France. You can't do it like that.
I'm with you. I'm going to have to ask you to
Yes, I caught it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I want to give.
The people care. The people care, but it doesn't sound like that board cares at all. Well, we're going to have to ask you to wrap it up, man. He was giving you great intel and great insight, and you're like, we're going to have to wrap it up. You know what I mean? And Islam has taken over. And it's not just America. It's not just the UK. Even in Germany, it's even growing into the church. That Chrislam stuff, I've talked about in the past. Here's a German church that's allowing, and I mean, it's a Catholic church, but they're integrating. And a Catholic church in Germany is allowing a Muslim chant. Watch this video. we're being conquered. And they're doing it with irregular warfare. We're being conquered. That's what's going on. Give me a moment here. Now, here's where they're talking about bringing in this epic city into Florida, and this is for you Floridians that think you're untouchable. Here we go.
Florida is arguably the greatest state in the United States. As a guy who's been almost everywhere in the United States, I can tell you that there is no comparison as far as where conservatism and freedom rings true. This, Florida, is the best of the best. In fact, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else other than Florida. I wish I would have spent my entire life here versus wasting half of it living in New York. With that said, I have been for years, decades actually, 2 decades, I have been always reminded every single day of what I lived through on 9/11 when I ran from the Twin Towers. I was one of the people who had the white sut in your hand you saw running in the street. I've always vowed that I would never ever forget that day and the people who carried it out. I would never forget the dangers of Islam and how it is that in 1991, the Muslim Brotherhood wrote a doctrine that was found by the FBI, and it was presented in what was called the Holy Land Foundation trial. And that doctrine said that the way to take down America is to take it over from within. Take over the government, go into the schools, take over the media, businesses, you name it, buy lots of land. The number one video of all the thousands of videos that I have created, the podcasts, the movies, the shorts, it doesn't matter. The number one video of all time was when I exposed what Dearborn, Michigan looked like, and that was nearly 10 years ago. It has only gotten worse. We have seen huge movements from the Muslim communities to try to create these huge Mecca-like societies in our states. The most prominent one is called Epic City, which has now been changed to the Meadows in Texas. And the people of Texas have done everything they can to curb this. Well, the same people who are developers in that project and funders of that project are now aiming at Florida, specifically Indian River County, which includes a few different cities, one of them called Vero Beach. Tonight at 6 p.m., the zoning board is going to have a special meeting about this epic city lookalike that would happen in Vero Beach on the west side of 95, where there is a ton of agriculture, farms, ranches, you name it. I have enough experience to realize that this will happen. It will be built, and it will slowly but surely create Vero Beach and Indian River County into what looks like Dearborn or New York City, or God forbid, the Epic City in Texas. There's a way to stop it. It's through arguing about the agricultural changes that cannot be placed, to focusing in on zoning. Yes, everybody who is not a Muslim wants to keep that sort of faith away and not destroy the culture here in Florida. But ultimately, we have to focus in on zoning. The other part as well is that Florida has designated the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization, and therefore any funding that is directly or indirectly from them that can be traced back, well, that also helps matters too. The problem is that these developers are starting to become very creative and developing, or I should say forming, one LLC after the next. It's a chain. It's all designed to hide where it is that the funding is coming from. So tonight, when you go to the planning board and you sit in front of the people who have been elected into office or other people who have been appointed as consultants or whatever, you let them know without any hesitation that you will do everything possible to preserve life in Indian River County and Florida, that you are not going to be the next Dearborn, Michigan, and that you're not going to see agriculture and zoning and what is right and wrong when it comes to traffic and all the other different jazz that comes along with stopping one of these sort of things. That's where you focus on, and you scream it loud, and you tell them that you will have people primary against them, and you tell them that you will do anything that you have to do within the confines of the law to make this go away.
I think you get the point. All right. But that's supposed to happen tonight. on Thursday the 22nd. And so these kind of things are being decided, and I'm sure that this guy speaking up, isn't the only person speaking up, but it's whether you get in the algorithm or not, whether your video gets seen. I'm sure there's other places where they're trying to build mosques all across the board. What I find interesting is that, in the UK, I remember when they really were trying to get radical Islam, pushed into the UK, and with this, what do you call it? Replacement migration plan. And eventually it snowballed and it snowballed to where, like, there's places Europeans cannot go in their own country because they'll be killed, and they literally call them no-go zones. And I believe that they're trying to develop these in America. I showed videos not too long ago when Cam Higbee went to Dearborn, Michigan, and he was just trying to be like, hey, can we come in your mosque and check it out? And they weren't having it. They literally said, get out of here. And then they had black vehicles following them around. They had drones flying over them. They went to a gas station to use the bathroom. They used the bathroom. They come back out, and the drone was still there, and then continued to follow them. And then a little boy come up to him and said, yeah, the mosque has drones, but those aren't our drones. That's like a Freudian slip. It's like, that's us, but it's not us. But it's us, but that's not us. You know what I mean? And so this is where it's all going. They're creating their no-go zones. And I don't know when Americans are going to finally pop their head out of their tutor, or at least get a glass stomach to be able to see where they're going when they have their head so far up there. But Americans are going to have to start standing against this, no matter the kickback that you get. And you're going to have to start being vocal about it, like I'm being vocal right now. I mean, it paints a huge target on my back making a video like this. You think it's easy for me to come and like say, hey, look, heads up, there's an event coming. And I was looking for this video that I have, and I literally cannot find it. I'm going to try to go to the social media platform here. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I'm going to try to find it here, what I found earlier. And I don't know if I can. I'm looking real quick. Yeah, no. I have it downloaded somewhere, but I can't find it. I'm super sorry. But there's this guy talking about how, Al-Qaeda has basically been activated in the United States. And they're saying that if they don't get in, and this is separate from what I've warned people before about, Iran, the Ayatollah crapola in Iran, coming out and saying that if people don't start getting busy and getting violent, that they're committing haram, which is their form of blasphemy. So Joppy can vouch for me that there's a video going around where they're talking about that Al-Qaeda has been activated. And I've shown you video after video after video. I think I even still have some here where, they're warning people of coming attacks. And, it's also interesting too, because a lot of the politicians that are part of this cabinet are living on military bases now. They're literally living on military bases now. It's like they know something that's coming that we don't. And so when you tell the globalists to go screw off, there's going to be repercussions because Satan's the ruler of this world. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what America has done, has been like, you can go kick rocks and flip-flops and find your shine box. Is really what America's done to the globalists. And there's plenty of people from America that basically told them that at Davos. And so here's one video I can show you where they're talking about coming attacks, and he talks about 5 key areas, but he only mentions like 2 or 3 before the video cuts out, and I don't know what the other 2 or 3 areas are, but I'll just show you what I have.
We know was it 2021? Hamza bin Laden, one of the sons of Osama bin Laden, became the military commander, and then about a year later became the emir of Al Qaeda. And him and his brothers, Saad and Uthman and Abdullah, are all in on the U.S. plot, which is Al Qaeda is targeting soft targets, specifically hospitals, medical centers, and other things like that. The intelligence is they've got police uniforms, utility uniforms, fire and rescue uniforms, because the intent is to have first the primary attacks on whatever soft target, including hospitals, and then secondary attacks. But the key is if they attack the hospitals and then are simultaneously doing other soft targets, there won't be anywhere in those cities to take the wounded people. And since we know they have over 1,000 soldiers here, at least, and I'm just talking Al Qaeda, I'm not talking about all the Hamas, Muslim Brotherhood, Hezbollah, Iranian IRGC forces, just the Al Qaeda soldiers, just for this operation.
All right, when is this operation supposed to, what kind of a time frame are you?
Imminent.
Oh, good. All right, so here's the...
And what are the 5 cities? What are the 5 cities?
Miami, Houston, and
that's what he gave out, Miami and Houston. And so, but that's where they're, and I'm not saying Miami and Houston, but that's where there's 2 states where they're getting set up to have their little meccas that they're trying to build here in America. They got New York. They're going after, Texas, and then they're going after Florida. Hold on one second. Yeah, so then they're trying to set up in Florida. They're trying to set up shop in Florida. They already got it in Dearborn. They got it in Michigan. They got it in New York City. They got it in Houston. They're building stuff everywhere. And that's all they need to have a base. And in anybody who has been in the Middle East that knows anything about the Middle East, those mosques are weapons depots. Flat out. Those mosques are weapons depots. All right. People have got to be ready for what's about to happen. And I've been trying to warn everybody that America's October 7th is coming. America's October 7th is coming. And you're going to wake up one morning and there's going to be bloodshed everywhere. That's what I'm concerned about, because Israel didn't think that was going to happen to them, and it did. It did. I have footage that would make your stomach flip-flop and churn. I have footage that would make you vomit. The reason I have it is because the Lord specifically told me when October 7th happened, he says, start saving it now, because there's going to come a day where, and it could be in the Great Tribulation even, I don't know, but there's going to come a day where they're going to say that it never happened. And I want you to document this, Joshua. And anytime God talks to me, he doesn't call me Josh, he calls me Joshua. And that's a place that only my mom and my Heavenly Father can call me. I don't like it when people call me Joshua. Just call me Josh. You know what I mean? But he told me very clearly, felt it in my spirit, that I needed to save that, even though it's horrific and it's terrible. But it also shows what's coming to America. And Americans have gone throughout their entire lives, this generation and the generation before it especially, thinking they're untouchable, that nothing can bother us on our homeland. You've already been invaded. The enemy is already here. And that's what you need to understand. The enemy is already here. And people can say that this isn't going to happen before the rapture, but you don't know that. That's speculation. And I would rather us prepare for the worst, but pray for the best. I pray Jesus comes before this happens, but we cannot guarantee that. But I can tell you right now, all right, especially with like the 2 soldiers that were shot, you know what I mean? But they were shot when they were standing guard in Washington D.C. when they were trying to clean up Washington D.C. or whatever. A Muslim came up and shot 2 soldiers in the head. All right, and it's beginning to happen. I have been warning of this coming for a long time. And I've been trying to tell people the contrary to what the majority of YouTube tells you is this and tells you that. And I'm trying to say, hey, look, let's not throw everything out. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I hate using that saying, but it's the reality is we cannot guarantee that we're not going to see something chaotic before we go home. Because as in the days of Noah shall the coming of the Son of Man be. In the days of Noah were violent. It says the mind of man was violent continually. And that's where we're at. You know, you have people that will not integrate into our society. They will not do it peacefully. Check this video out.
Unfortunately, these days we don't repeat this enough, or we don't have this aqidah concept firm in our minds that Islam did not come to coexist. Islam لا يعلى. الإسلام يعلو ولا يعلى عليه. And Islam is raised high and nothing is raised above Islam. We can't think of Islam that it came to live with these other religions in the sense that Islam is a religion amongst those religions and they have a share with the truth. And they have a share of justice. And they have a share of, this worship of Allah, the correct worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Islam came to correct all of that. Islam came to remove the oppression of all those religions. And it is the only truth, and it is the only way to justice.
So you hear it, you heard it from their own mouths. They're not here to coexist, like on the back of your Subaru Outback. They don't care about coexistence. They are bloodthirsty and they're ready to get down and boogie. They are ready to do work, son. All right, and I'm trying to warn everybody. And like I said, you have multiple factions. You have like the IRGC, and you have the Al Qaeda, and you have ISIS that have been basically already given the green light to attack America. They've already been given the green light to attack America and to attack Americans. There's not a lot of Muslims being rounded up. It's almost like the government is allowing this to happen. It kind of boggles my mind. I mean, there's people that say all Somalians have to be Muslims. Not all Somalians are Muslim. All right, not all of them. All right, some of them are just here to use and abuse our system and to steal from the U.S. government and take it back to their own homeland and fund their own agendas over there. But there are some that are Muslim. I'm sure there's some Hispanic people that are Muslims. I'm sure that there is some Asian people that are Muslims, but that's not the ethnicity that they're going after right now, if you've noticed. All right. And I'm talking like, Shiite and Sunni Muslims from Pakistan, Iran, Syria, all these different places, Lebanon, Gaza, all this stuff. You don't see any of those people being arrested and taken out of America, and so there's hard times ahead is what I'm concerned about. And the biggest thing I wanted to get across today is that at Davos, in I think it's Switzerland, in the World Economic Forum meeting there that they just recently had, the Americans came in, from what I could see, from what I heard with my own ears, is that America told the globalists to go screw themselves. And I'm just telling you the truth. And I'm sorry to put it to that way, but I'm never going to sugarcoat anything to you. I will not sugarcoat anything to you. All right? I'm going to tell you exactly as it is. And with that being said, and you telling the globalists to go screw themselves, what's going to happen is they're going to say, oh yeah? Oh yeah? Is that the way it's going to be? And they're going to enact some, violent travesty. And I think it's going to be very similar to what happened in October 7th. And let me paint a picture for you, like imagine yourself sitting at your table and I'm going to tell you something. There's a TV show. It's a very liberal TV show. I find it kind of funny in parts. I'm not going to lie. So I've seen all 6 seasons of it. It's a TV show called Superstore. I don't know if you've ever watched Superstore, But if you pay close attention to Superstore, it has some of the most predictive programming I have ever seen in my entire life. Like it actually called a lot of shots before they actually happened. It was almost, and I'm not saying it's prophetic, but I'm saying it's almost borderline prophetic because of how accurate they were at depicting what was going to happen, and then it happened. And one of the things that I noticed in that show is you have a character named Dina, who is this woman that monitors the security cameras for the store, and she's an assistant manager and blah, blah, blah. Well, there's this kid named Bo that goes in and he's planning to rob the place. And he's trying to figure out, what their goal is and all that stuff, how they kind of do things. So that way he can kind of, rob the place later on that night. He's going to hide in the store and try to rob the place. Anyways, he befriends Dina and they're talking about what they call ISIS. They say it like that. Oh, yeah, ISIS. I've had my own ISIS for a long time. And then she says, yeah, I've had my eye on ISIS too. She says this. She says, people expect them to attack the coasts. She says, nah, that's not the way it's going to happen. She says they're going to attack the heartland, the mid, the middle of America. They're going to attack in the center. And so anytime you've ever seen big things really kind of happen, it always seems to be on the outskirts, doesn't it? California, Washington State, Oregon, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, all the way up to New York. It always seems to be that's kind of the going rate for the events when they unfold in America, that's what they do. They kind of go after the outskirts. But we have been so infiltrated and so penetrated by radical Islam that now they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. And I mean, what's also interesting is that as they take over one area, they move to the next and they move to the next. You want to know what else does that? Locusts do that. They come, they feed, they destroy, and they move on to another area to feed, destroy, and then move on to the next area, and then feed, destroy, and move on to the next area. And so, it just goes to show. And absolutely, Todd Connor, absolutely, the red, black, and green of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Absolutely, the flags, the majority of Islam's flags, of the Muslim nations are your red, your white, your white, your red, your black, and your green. Absolutely, 110%, Todd Connor. I've said that quite a few times, but it's very smart of you to notice that, and it is. And so I'm not trying to spread fear or anything like that. I'm trying to prepare the people that watch my channel for what's getting ready to pop off. And what you're seeing in Minneapolis and things like that, it's just a precursor. What you saw in the Summer of Love during the pandemic, back in, I think it was 2021 or 2022, during that Summer of Love where, the George Floyd riots, if you wanted, if you want to know it, that was just a test run. That was a dress rehearsal. The first pandemic was a dress rehearsal, and I've got all sorts of people, that and again, Jennifer is saying that she's sick again. I just had Gray get a hold of me and tell me that he's been sick, and stuff's moving around. I've been taking my stuff that I told people to take, and I've been doing great, and I thank the Lord for that. Thank you, Jesus. And I pray healing over people that are sick. That's really rough. But you're right, Ben Sherman. The age of grace is coming to a close. It absolutely is. The church age is coming to a close. The door is beginning to swing shut, and before it shuts, we slip out the crack of the door and we go home. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to be a rough ride up until the very end. And it is. God never promised us the high road. He never said it was going to be easy. And so we shouldn't take it and have these preconceived notions of like, it's going to be peace and safety, and then we're going to get raptured. No, that's a scripture that's meant for the Antichrist. His false peace and safety, and then sudden destruction comes because he's going to turn on the world like a junkyard dog. And so I really felt heavy on my heart when I seen America stand up at Davos and, at the WEF and say, Americans are done with globalists. I could almost sit there and see the globalists on the side of the camera angle, kind of like, how someone's thinking and they got their thumb and their index finger on their chin and they're kind of stroking their goatee or their beard or whatever. I kind of, and you're pondering. I could kind of see some of them doing that. And it's like, you're planning something, ain't you? There's something big coming, ain't it? And I know that eventually there's going to be a pandemic. Absolutely. They've told us they're going to do it. I know eventually there's going to be martial law. They told us they're going to do it. I know eventually there's going to be 15-minute cities. They told us they're going to do it. I know all of this stuff. There's going to be depopulation because they told us they're going to do it. But when, we don't know. I've never said, oh, it's for sure a hard date set here and this and that. It's got to happen this way. I've just said things are lining up. Things are lining up. And it's all lining up. The ducks are all in a row, ready to be shot, like at a carnival game. Ping, 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 or dominoes falling, tick, 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 tick. All the way down the line. They've set them up, and they're getting ready to knock them down. And this whole replacement migration is a part of the whole agenda. It's part of Agenda 2030. And remember when in the video it says, that Western nations will be tested to the breaking point. Hey, lowly man for Christ. Good to see you, Kevin. Love you, brother. And I don't normally do this and promote channels and things like that. But if you have not subscribed to Lowly Man for Christ, he's a good brother of mine. And he's got a good channel, man. This guy's an encourager, man. I'm the one that will burst your bubble. And then you can go over to his channel and get encouraged. But I'll tell you, man, it's just absolutely crazy the how everything's being set up to fall. It's like the whole thing was designed to take a huge tumble. And I care about people. That's all it is I care about you. I care about your lives. I care about your family's lives. I especially care about the children, and it's just, there's something devastating coming, and we all feel it. I mean, y'all, can you raise your hand if you feel in your spirit that tough times are ahead? Like just put an emoji out there, something, or a hand wave or something like that, and put out there, do you feel something in your spirit? Or leave it in the comment section below and say, I feel it in my spirit. You know what I mean? It's absolutely insane. And again, like I was saying, oh, no problem, lowly man for Christ. This guy's, like I said, Kevin, he's a good dude, and me and him talk on the phone sometimes. He's busy, I'm busy. We can when we can, but he's got a big heart for the Lord, and he, like I said, he's a huge encourager. If you need encouragement, he's the channel to go to for sure. Huge encourager, loves the Lord so much. And we're good friends, and I appreciate you, Kevin, and God bless you, brother. Anyways, so we're at a crossroads here. It's almost like, we're at a tipping point. It's like the car is literally teetering on the edge. We're like, okay, is it staying or is it going? Like, everybody shift to the back real quick. Everybody shift to the back to keep the car on the ledge. We don't want to see it go down the ledge. But ultimately, it's gonna, when you get out of the car, it's gonna go out of the ledge, and that rapture, when it happens, the car is gonna go over the edge. The weight is all on the engine, and you're the only thing keeping the car from tipping over the edge. Do you understand that? The bride of Christ. Do you understand that you're the salt of the earth, and you're the Holy Spirit and the church is the only thing keeping this thing tipping over the edge as it is. But we saw what we saw in Israel. All right. I'm so sorry, Just a Bird. I just prayed for everybody that's sick just a moment ago, and I pray that everybody gets better. It's absolutely a rough flu season and COVID season or whatever. That's for sure. Lots of people sick, and then it comes and it goes. It comes and it goes. But as the bride of Christ, when we go up, it's definitely going to tip over the edge. But we're still teetering on the edge, and it's still danger all around us, and we don't know what's going to happen any day now. We don't know if it's going to be the rapture, if it's going to be some crazy event. I mean, and again, I'll tell you a story, and I don't care what Perry Stone has done in his past. he's forgiven by God, and he's forgiven by me as well. I believe from the things that had happened, that he was truly repentant. He took a sabbatical and took time off and got things corrected. And so when I say Perry Stone, I do trust Perry Stone's, what he talks about. I think he's a genuine believer. And he was talking about how when he went to Israel one time, how he saw some Israelis playing basketball, and they were literally playing basketball with their firearm strapped to them. And Perry Stone was like, what's going on? Are they expecting something? And he's like, no, we just, every time we have any downtime, they attack us. They always wait till you're not paying attention. They always wait till they're, you're not looking. They always wait till you have your back turned. That's what radical Islam does. It waits till you let your guard down. And as soon as you do that, just like the frog and the snake or whatever, or the scorpion, the frog and the scorpion, it'll sting you. They'll sting you. You try to help them. You try to get them across the water. Oh, hey, here's a better life for you. And then wham, the poison stinger goes into your back. And all of a sudden your venom is pumping through your veins and you're dying. And your country's already dying. You don't understand. You're already you stick a fork in you, America. You're already done. Look at UK. Just take a moment and analyze the UK. They thought it couldn't happen to them. I remember and I won't say who they are. There was one subscriber that I always thought was just pompous, because what they would do is like when I would talk about get ready for what's coming, they would literally say, oh, there's nothing to worry about. I'm in the UK. It's peaceful here and blah, 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 blah. Now look at you. Your women are being raped. Your children are being raped, and you're being slaughtered in the streets. There's an elderly woman just gardening in her yard, and a Muslim went up and decapitated her in her own property while she was gardening. And I'll tell you right now, it's better to have, and Bruce Lee said this, it's better to have a warrior in the garden than a gardener in a war. All right. So you best get ready. All right. Because the enemy, even Jesus told you to take a sword. He even told you to take a sword. He told his disciples to get a sword. He even said, sell your clothing to get a sword if you have to. I think is, paraphrasing here. But Jesus even was like, all right, yeah, strap up, do what you got to do. All right. It says, thou shalt not murder, not thou shalt not protect thy family, or thou shalt not protect thy loved ones, or thou shalt not protect thy neighbor. And in Canada, they're screwed. They got a bunch of guns taken away from them. You know what I'm saying? They're getting infiltrated right and left. It's happening in the UK. The reason they don't put their hands on America and they don't come out and show you the snake that they are behind the scenes and shed their skin and show you who they really are is because you're strapped, America. China didn't want to invade because they said they'd find an American under every blade of grass with a gun. That's the reality of it. America, you are literally the tipping point. I have friends who are foreign in other countries, and they always tell me they look at America as like the example. They look at America. I'm like, why did you choose to, because my friends are obviously bilingual. I don't know any of their languages. I don't know Puerto Rican. I don't know Danish. I don't know any of that stuff. I couldn't learn it if my life depended on it. But these guys speak fluent English and can talk to me. And then I hear them talking to like their wives and stuff, and just hearing their cultural language. And it just blows my mind that they can speak two languages. They know what they're saying to each other. I don't have a dang clue what they're saying. They could be calling me a fart knocker for all I know. But my point is, I say, why did you choose to learn English? Because America's like the focus of the world. And when America falls, it's gonna fall hard. It's gonna fall hard. That's what's gonna happen. When it falls, it's gonna fall hard. And I would like, topic to stay on topic because, I know people are concerned about the snow and all that stuff, but, the weatherman can tell you about that. The weatherman can tell you about the snow. The weatherman can tell you about exploding trees, even though I never heard of such a thing before. And I'm not saying trees can't explode. You know what I mean? But everybody's freaking out. Oh, the exploding tree storm, just crazy to me. But I'm more worried about the Muslims that are taking over America right now than the temporary snowstorm that's coming, the temporary ice that's coming. If your power goes out, it'll come back on. But will your family members survive if ISIS attacks them? Are you going to be ready for that? You plan on being prepared for a storm. Well, what about the storm that's invaded your country? What about the storm that's invaded your neck of the woods? What about the storm that's invaded your state? And the enemy that's staring at you right back, and they're about ready to shoot, and they're not going to shoot until they see the whites of your eyes. They're going to wait till they're right up on you to do it. I mean, everything else is temporary, but like what's coming, man, it's going to cause tremendous loss of life. I think it's a formidable force. I'll give them that. There's enough of them here to do a tremendous amount of damage. And it's all fun and games up until it happens. And people who have been like, I've lived an hour away from a stabbing attack. I have, and that's just an hour away. That's not that far away, but it's still not right where I'm at. But there was a stabbing attack at a store, and multiple people were stabbed. And it's like it was the hot gossip of the area when that happened. And I bet you, people that woke up that morning and went to that store didn't think that was going to happen to them. They didn't think that was going to happen to them. And it did. Absolutely nowhere safe, to be honest. The only way you are safe is in the arms of Jesus. The only way you are safe is Jesus being your shelter in the coming storm. That's it. Bottom line. It's the blood of Jesus that covers you, and his Holy Spirit that covers you, and the Heavenly Father putting his wings around you and sheltering you in what's about to happen. Or, God bless it, the pre-tribulation rapture happens. But I'm telling you, we're not guaranteed when the pre-tribulation rapture is going to happen. But I'll tell you right now, we're guaranteed violence is all around us. And our enemies have infiltrated us. We're guaranteed that. We're guaranteed that they're funding their what's coming with American money. Your taxpayer dollars are going for your demise. Everybody, you're working to pay the enemy to overtake you. You're paying taxes to overtake you. I wish we could call for a day where everybody just stops paying taxes. They can't catch us all. Man, we'll be out there like Pokemon, man. You ain't going to catch us all. But will people do it? Absolutely not. Because people have been programmed to walk the dotted line and do as they're told. And boy, I'll tell you, when the time comes, you will eat the bugs. And you're gonna love your little 15-minute city and your little apartment that they're gonna have you in the metro centers. And some giant skyscraper packed full of, poverty. Absolutely, it's worth looking for new employment. You got to be able to fund what you're going to do next. I mean, if I had limitless funds, the first thing I would do is buy a vehicle that could pull a camper and have a camper. Because even if they take your house away from you and you got to go, you have a place, a roof over your head. That's probably the first thing I do. And then stockpile freeze-dried foods, stockpile candles, things like that. God, golden guns, whatever, you know what I mean? But that would be one of the first things I do if I had unlimited finances. I'm just scraping teeth trying to figure out this next investigation, but I know God's going to take care of it. But my point is that, if you have the means, I would absolutely get a job and absolutely start taking care of business. Start stockpiling up. Get you that ramen, rice, and beans, buddy boy. Ramen, rice, and beans. You can't go wrong there. You can literally cook the rice, cook the beans, throw some of the chicken or beef flavoring into the rice and the beans. You season it up, and you can cook the noodles on top of it, or whatever. Save the noodles for another day for like a veggie stew or something. I don't know. If you grow a garden. But absolutely, it takes money to prepare. And unfortunately, that's the reality of the world we live in. I would absolutely not. I mean, listen, and it's so important for people to understand that you cannot give up on life. You have to live as if there's going to be a tomorrow. You have to. And this is what I've been trying to tell my audience for so long. Just because we know the pre-tribulation rapture is coming, don't give away your inheritance. Don't give away every dime that you have and sell your car and sell your house and give it away to charity, and go up on the hilltop and hold your arms out and look up. Because the rapture ain't going to happen like that. In the twinkling of an eye, you will be gone. In the twinkling of an eye, you will be gone, and none of it will matter anymore on the earth. But the people that are left behind, you can leave behind tracts, you can leave behind things that you are a Christian, and you can prepare, and someone is going to find that stash, and they're going to say, oh, this dude was a Christian. They knew something was coming, didn't they? They knew all of this. They knew. Yeah, we knew. We knew it from the very get-go, because Jesus said, behold, I have told you before. Behold, I have told you before is what he said. He warned us. He warned us of what he was going to do, or what was going to happen. He warned us. And he said, fear not, for I am with thee. Absolutely, he's with you, even to the end of the earth. And we're reaching that time. We're there. The door is beginning to close. Like someone said earlier, the door of the age of grace is beginning to close. The door of the church age is beginning to close. And we're going to slip out right before it goes shut. And then the door's going to shut. And there are going to be people banging on it. Let us in, let us in, let us in. And there ain't going to be no opening that door once it's shut. So be prepared, not only physically, mentally, emotionally, but spiritually and even financially if you can. If you have a means to work, go do so. And so it's so important, everybody. It's so important to be ready and be preparing and be focused on Jesus. And Jesus is number one. Obviously, being prepared spiritually, you can't go wrong there. Not everybody can prepare and be a prepper or this or that. I can't. I ain't got the funds for that. I got some ramen, rice, and beans. That's about it. But what I'm saying is that if you can, do so. Prepare for your neighbors. If you have extra, prepare for your neighbors too, because they're going to come and knocking. They're going to come and knock and say, you got any food, man? My children are hungry. And instead of giving them food, cook something, and cook it. My mom always taught me, if you're going to survive, she says, cook a big pot of soup. Get the biggest pot you can and start a pot of soup. And if you have company come over, you put more water in. That's what my mama taught me. My mom was a survivalist. I was raised by two Native American women, and they were survivalists. I grew up around gardens, and I grew up around people that were getting ready for what's coming. Even back then, they saw it. And so I think we should heed the warning and say, hey, look, Jesus told us. And it says in the Bible that Noah was moved by fear to prepare an ark for him and his household. So prepare your ark. God will protect your home. Leave the things that are out of your control up to God, and the rest will fall into place. Put God first, and all will be added unto you. You don't have to fear what's coming, but you do need to be ready for it. You do need to be a good steward, because you're the powers that be. They plan to destroy this thing. America has to fall. I've shown you what the World Economic Forum has said and how the U.S. will not be a superpower anymore. What happens in the next 4 years that makes America not be a superpower anymore? That's something pretty big, if you ask me. And I think it's something we all need to be paying attention to. Stay focused on Jesus and give him your all, because now is the time that matters. And most of all, be out there preaching and teaching and witnessing, getting people on the ark while you can. Because I'm telling you, the fruit is ripe to fall off the tree right now. It's ripe for the harvest, because people are seeing what's taken place. And be a person that has the answers. Be readily available for God to use you at any moment. I love you all so much. May God bless you. May he keep you. And please don't forget to go out and change this world in which you live.